Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Mr. Pick Me and the Manhater podcast. I am your host,
And
Reagan.
I am Chesko, the man hater.
I
Wait,
didn't even say what I am. Did I? Did I say Manhater?
no. And then I called myself the man hater by accident. That wasn't on purpose. I'm Mr. Pick Me. Welcome to
Oh,
a
God.
professional show brought to you by Christmas. We're not actually sponsored by them. I don't know.
I don't think they'd like us very much.
No,
No, no.
'tis the season.
Chris Kringle.
We support everyone, even non-denominational and all denominations.
And Krampus. We'll let him in. That was a scary movie.
I didn't see it. Did you?
That
Ah!
is a creepy little guy.
Isn't Krampus is based on a real mythology though,
I
right?
think it
From
is. He's
German?
scary.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's coming for your kids, I
Yeah.
think.
Eh,
Not yours in specific, but
we got three. It's fine. It's fair.
if I will tell you right now, if you came for your youngest, she's getting out and Krampus might end up
Yeah,
toast.
she's gonna destroy him. Like, take her back. I can't handle this. What is this?
This is insane. I deal with demons on a daily basis with this child.
And then you see she's just this beautiful little sweet face.
Old
Like,
cherub. She's like, what?
yeah.
I kicked him. I'm a better snake. Oh, shit. Okay. Well, because we're talking about Christmas things, Chesko, do you have a Christmassy story for us?
I do. And it's am I the asshole for not doing anything for Christmas this year and making my husband livid? Theme song.
You want bad advice? Man, I'll give it out gladly. I got some good advice for you. No, you don't. Like, no, you don't. I got some good advice for you. No, you don't. Like, no, you don't. Shit.
Okay, tell us your
Okay.
story. I want to hear it.
So, I'm a stay-at-home mom with 3 kids. This isn't about me, by the way. I'm reading a story for the audio listeners.
Chesko is
I am
reading
not as a-
something.
yes.
Okay.
So I'm a stay-at-home mom with 3 kids. My husband works full-time and gets an okay salary, but he's tightened the grip on spending for the past 4 months to be able to save up to watch the football event overseas. He's literally obsessed with anything to do with football. He said he rarely gets to do what he wants, and so I didn't want to judge him since it's his money eventually. First off, do you think he's talking about like football or footy ball? Like soccer, or
Football.
is it football, or
I would guess he's talking about soccer.
that would be my guess too. And it's not just like the NFL event, because they do have an overseas event every year.
I don't feel like that's as
I feel like no.
I think we're talking about soccer here.
All right.
But also I'm already mad.
Yeah. We'll go through the whole thing first before yeah.
I'll stay.
We discussed plans for Christmas, and he told me to handle everything since he won't be back until December 20th. He told me he had put aside money for Christmas decoration, food, gift, kids' needs, etc. The money in total, I want you to guess how much he left. This is for Christmas decorations, food, gifts, and all the kids' needs.
I'll do 500, which is slow.
$100.
No!
I was completely shocked. I told him $100 for an entire family's Christmas celebration was ridiculously not enough. He shrugged, saying it's all he's got. But I pointed out how he's paying for his friends and his girlfriend's travel expenses. He told me to just take it, but I said that if he decided to leave me with just $100, then I won't be doing anything for Christmas. We had lots of arguments and couldn't get this resolved. There's more, but
I actually started hearing the blood in my ears. I think I was grinding my teeth so hard that the pressure in my ears got to be audibly loud. I'm sorry. Okay. Okay. Are we saying things yet? Or are we waiting?
we can't. Do you want me to? There's only one more
Okay.
paragraph. You want to-
Yeah.
All right.
Hold.
Okay. He's in. Is it Qatar? Qatar.
Qatar. Is
Okay.
it Qatar?
I think so. Please correct us if I'm wrong. I apologize. He's in Qatar now. He left days ago. Yesterday, while I was cleaning, I found an envelope with the same $100 and a note from him telling me to quote unquote make it work. I sent him a message saying I've decided that I won't be doing anything for Christmas with this little money, period. He was livid. He just kept sending me angry message after another, calling me spoiled and telling me to stop expecting to live like I was still living in my parents' house and to stop trying to rob the kids of enjoying the holidays like the other kids. I haven't replied, but he's livid, saying I'm punishing him for going and trying to guilt him using his own money.
Chesko, is it done now?
That's it.
Oh my God. What is happening right now? So just so I can understand, he's leaving to go to a football event in Qatar, which God can only imagine how expensive that outing is. He's also chosen to pay for his friend's travel as well as his friend's girlfriend. But for his wife, who he's leaving to do all of the arranging for Christmas, all of the plans, all of the decorating, all of the gifts, he has left her $100.
Yes.
And yet, she's selfish. Look up the flights.
Yeah, I want to.
Where are we coming from? Do we know where it's from?
No, I'm just gonna guess from here. So round trip from where I am is $1,200. That's the cheapest flight.
So we're guessing it's at least 1,000.
At least 1,000, wherever they're coming from. So there's 3 tickets there. That's $3,000 just in flights. And then hotel. Let's look up hotels in
Qatar.
Yeah. So not too expensive. Cheapest I'm finding here. It's about 130 bucks a night. So 2 hotel rooms, about $250 a night. So if they're there for a week, probably this trip is probably going to be about 4,000 plus tickets to the game, plus food, plus $5,000. This is probably about a 5,000. Let's say on best case scenario, it's about a $5,000 trip.
He's not taking his wife either. And the idea that like he's been making them all suffer and tightening the purse strings, as it was, this whole time because he wants to take his trip, and yet he leaves her. God, I wonder what his priorities are. And of course, what does he care about? He doesn't care about his kids and his wife, who like, you need to make it special for them on $100.
No, clearly she's the one choosing to punish the children. Choosing to punish them
by not taking the $100 and getting all of their gifts and decorating. Okay, he doesn't care about his kids. He doesn't care about any of that. What he cares about is looking good to his friend and his friend's girlfriend, because he's willing to fly them out, but he's not willing to give his own family money because clearly that's more important.
It took me a second. For the first time I read it, I was like, wait, his friend and his girl. Oh
my God.
Does he have a girlfriend and
This man's a monster.
Yeah. In some ways, that's almost not as bad as him paying for somebody else's girlfriend.
At least he's got some relation.
She didn't seem to be upset about him having a girlfriend, so that clearly is not.
Yeah, it's not that. Or she's real cash about it.
Yeah, she's like, I'm leaving him anyways.
I don't care. That's insane. Yeah. And then say, like, what a manipulative tactic to leave her with not enough money to do anything, and then say it's her fault and she's selfish. Like, I'm sorry, if you want to be a part of it, if you care so much about the holiday experience, why don't you be there?
Yeah.
Why don't you give her money? But no, you have to fly. Like, this is when I get really upset because, like, it's the whole idea of, like, the stay-at-home parent when they're like, oh, it's our money, which, like, I get into fights with people on the internet very often about this idea of, like, how I think it's really scary when women don't have any of their, like, any finances of their own, any money of their own, any account of their own, because then it could lead them into, like, dangerous territory, because if something goes wrong, they can be cut off, that, you know, financial power can be used against them, whatever. And people be like, well, it's our money, it's our, and I'm like, in the best case scenario, it is. If you have a wonderful partner that's not going to abuse the power dynamic, that's great. But in a case like this, it's our money until he wants to fly him and his friend's girlfriend out, and then all of a sudden it's his money.
Right.
It's his experience. It's well, I got to save my money for this thing I want to do because I don't get to do anything fun.
Well, and that's the difference is they don't even have, it doesn't even sound like they have a shared account or anything. It's just he gives her cash
Yeah,
when he
that's what I'm
decides.
saying.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And that's where it's like a very, because like and this is I always think this conversation is actually really interesting because there is data that shows that if you have that a shared pool of money, you
Hmm.
just put everything in the same, that there tends to be less financial drama in relationships.
Hmm.
You tend to be like that tends to be less area of conflict because you're not working. And like my wife and I early on, because she was still in college when we
Hmm.
started, and I had just started my career. I was making I didn't want there to ever feel like she ever had to ask me for money,
Right.
right? I wanted to just be like it literally was, but you have to approach it like 100% as in this is the, and it's not just you have to say it's your money or our money. You have to believe it like, okay,
Right. Right.
this is our family's pool of money,
Yes.
and I trust you as my partner that whatever you spend it on is the responsible thing, and that
Yeah.
you trust me that whatever I spend it on is the responsible, and that includes joy. Joy, being taking care of yourself is responsible
Fun
too.
things. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's like, but you've thought about that. Like, I'm not going to buy
Yeah.
myself a brand new, I do photography. I'm not going to buy myself a brand new lens for my camera
Right.
just because, unless I know that
Without
also,
talking to your partner.
yeah, and like,
Yeah.
the big things like, but it's not me asking for permission. It's not her asking me for permission. It's
Right.
just, it's having that shared pool of money. But I also respect not like for people, especially if you have two careers, you
Yeah.
have things going on, you have a lot of things separately going on, why you would want to have those separate things. It's
Yeah.
these specific situations where if you, and especially this is the kind of situation where he clearly does not want her working, where it's like
Yeah.
you're, the trad wife kind of lifestyle of, I don't want you working, right? It's not a
Right.
matter of you've
Right.
chosen for this to be your life. It's
Right.
no, no, no. I'm the man. I provide the money and I'm going to dole out an allowance for you because I hate that idea.
Uh, Agreed. Same.
Mhm,
But it's also like you agreed on that. Like this was a decision where you're like, okay,
mhm,
I am going to make all the money and then you're not
mhm,
going to have an income.
mhm.
And then the idea should be it's our money then because I
Right.
am not allowing you to
Hmm.
work. Or we
Hmm.
mutually, I don't know
Right.
how it went, but like we
Right.
have agreed you're not working. So then it's our money. And what
Hmm.
I am making is facilitated by
Hmm.
you being a stay-at-home parent.
Hmm.
You facilitate my lifestyle.
Right.
And we know statistically speaking that men who are married and have kids actually are more successful. It helps them move up the ladder, if anything. It does
Right.
not hinder them. And
Upward mobility,
yeah, there's upward
maybe.
mobility for them, while
Hmm.
women, when they become
Hmm.
mothers, it goes down. Their likelihood
Right.
of promotions and upward mobility, thanks,
Hmm.
Chesko, for that term, um, lessons, right? So we know that it assists him.
Hmm.
And yet, when he wants it, like I always look at when I'm looking at is this like healthy, I look at could it go both ways?
Hmm.
And in this case, there is no
No.
world in which she would say, "Hey, I'm going to take some of our money and section it
Hmm.
off and I'm going to put us on a budget because I really want to go to a football tournament with my girlfriend and her boyfriend." Like
Hmm.
that would never in a million years happen. And yet, like even the tone in which he's saying like I don't get to do anything fun. It's like,
Hmm.
what do you think she's doing? Eating
Right.
bonbons? Only if you will give her the allowance to do so. So for
Hmm.
him to be like, "Oh, I never get anything fun," like that is such a privileged,
Yeah.
misogynistic take.
And also, I don't believe for a second that he pays for her to go on a girls' trip anywhere.
No,
Right? There's
not with this
nothing like
attitude.
that. It's like you get to have fun. You get to go out shopping.
I gave you $20 for groceries. That's where you have fun.
You said you like shopping. I
You
give you
like it.
grocery money. God, it's like these guys like they want their wife to be at the same time their mother and a child.
Yes.
Like it's like they want to be taken care of like they're their mom, but they want to respect them or like
They want
over like,
authority.
the authority
Yes.
authorship of being the parent to them. It's there's no the power dynamic is so weird in that kind of relationship.
I mean, I've talked about the hypocrisy of these men because to your point, it's like, I am the man. You don't
Hmm.
question me. You obey me.
Hmm.
You do what I want. But I I don't know. What does $100 get you? I don't. I'm just a baby. I never been to the store. I don't have my own money. And like, I just want you. I'm just a little baby. You got to take care of Christmas all by yourself.
I wouldn't even know how to do that.
How much is an ornament?
Yeah, twirling his bald head.
One little,
One little, twing.
little curly cue.
Yeah.
Like, doing, 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 doing.
But it also those shows like how uninvolved you have to be
Yes!
to think that $100 and here I want to be very clear too. My mom did Christmas on nothing, right?
Yeah, sure,
$100.
sure.
It depends if you're in a circumstance where you only have $100.
Sure.
Sometimes you can figure out ways to make it work. The point is he's taken a $5,000 trip and then saying,
here's
you have
$100.
That's the context of the situation is very important.
With 3 kids,
Mhm.
and he's saying all of the gifts and all of the decorations and all of the food.
Mhm. And all the food. The food alone.
Even at Aldi's.
Yeah.
Like, this man does not go grocery shopping.
Mhm.
And here's the other thing. It's bad enough that, he said $100
Mhm.
because that is just not happening. Like, there's no world in which, unless someone is incredibly scrappy and has had to do so, to your point, maybe, but that is a lot to get done with that budget. She's saying, I can't do that. I can't get all the things that we need on that budget. And he's saying, I don't care.
No.
Here it is. Make it work. That's different because there's a world in which someone like, I don't know the prices of like everything in the world. Like
Right.
if we had to fix something with the car, I'd be like, here's $20.
Right.
Even like oil changes, they're like $100.
Yeah.
I'm like, what?
Yeah. How's that?
That's wrong.
Yeah.
Is it gold? Liquid gold oil? But there's worlds in which, you don't know the price of things. And then somebody says, that's not enough to cover it. And you're like, oh shit, I'm sorry. I didn't realize.
Yeah.
But when someone tells you, I cannot get that done, and you say, well, sucks to suck, figure it out. This is not your employee. This is not a simple task. And then to claim he cares so much about the holidays and trying to guilt her when she's saying, I can't do this for what you've given me. To flip it on her and be like, well, I guess you're just ruining Christmas. Like, no, you're ruining Christmas. And like, it makes me feel like she hasn't had a budget before because he would know then that wasn't enough had this happened before.
Right.
But it feels like all of a sudden, because he wants to go to Qatar for football, that, oh, well, here's $5 and a coupon to Best Buy.
Right.
Like, good luck.
It's probably, I could see it being a situation where normally it's just maybe they have a credit card or something where it's okay, I'm using this, I'm doing this.
Yeah.
And because he makes enough money where without a $5,000 trip to a soccer game, right, that it's not that big of a deal. It's like our budget is balanced, but this month he knows that he needed all this, like literally all of their excess money, whatever it is, to go on this trip. And man, and then it's one thing to be like dumb. But that should be fine. I saved you $100. That's good, right? That's already negligent.
Hiya, baby.
Ignorant. I'm a little baby. I don't buy things. I just pay the bills. But
I'm a businessman, goddammit.
I'm Sir Businessman Business. Make it work. Sir, it's like, here, use this can of tuna to change this tire.
I know, businessman baby.
Make it work. As you'll make it work. My child is able to pretend to do
That's
things.
such a businessman thing. Like, make it work. You're like, no, I can't. I guess technically it's also Tim Gunn, but I don't think he said it like that. Make it work. I don't think it had the same ring to it.
I can't even fathom what it would be like having that conversation. If you're flying here, we're having a live show on the 18th, and if I was like, I am in charge of our budget for the show, and I send you your check, for after all the money comes in. What if I was like, all right, well, Reagan, you have $100 to fly to Los Angeles. That'll be fine, right?
Well, it's not just that, but then me saying, no, that won't work. And you going, well, make it work.
No, figure it out. Well, that's what you got. So
you're ruining our event.
I'm going to use the rest of our lavish income from the show
to go to Qatar.
to go watch a soccer game for content.
But seriously, It's just you filming yourself at a soccer game. I feel like no, I don't have any letters behind my name, so don't take this, take it with a grain of salt. But I'm feeling a little bit of narcissism here, a little narcissistic tendencies from this guy because, like, it's more about his experience. It's more about the outlook of things. Even with his kids, it's like, I don't want to pay for you to facilitate this big dream, but I don't want the kids not to have it because that looks bad.
Right.
I want to be the big guy with all the money who takes my friends out and comes home to a big Christmas experience and kids who love me and celebrate me. And you're ruining that.
And there's a part of it that I think he knows that it's going to be bad. But and so he's preemptively setting up so the blame for the bad Christmas will go on the mom.
Right.
Right. He's like, well, I wasn't even here, and I can't believe she dropped the ball.
She's the football. He rolls the soccer ball. He's like, this is it.
And the kid's like, oh, we forgive you, Father. You're so funny. We
forgive you for abandoning us.
But not mother.
Mother. Did you ever see that there's this TikTok where like this guy's just being a misogynistic little jerk and it cuts to this other guy going, who hurt you? Was it mother?
Yeah, I know exactly.
That's what that reminded me of.
Was it mother?
I quote that all the time. Was it mother?
But that's what he's doing though. He's saying it up.
For him.
It was mommy, right? Or maybe mommy. Mommy,
I want to watch the football.
Why won't you let me watch the football game? Well, one day you'll marry someone and she'll let you go see the footy.
That impression needs to go to jail. That was bad.
We do have like non-American listeners.
Apologies.
And I apologize.
No, but I mean, I agree with you. I think he is setting her up for a failure. And to blame it on her. But at the same time, I would put money on the fact that had she used the $100, it would have not been up to his standards. And then he would have hated on her
and
for
it
that.
Still would have been like, oh, I can't believe I left you the money.
I left you a budget. It was and 2 buttons and lint. But
what are we supposed to tell our kids?
Yeah. Why have you done this to us?
As he's covered in full like paint from
he's got a pretzel.
How could you do this?
You take the joy out of my life.
He's not even there.
I hate when men like this are like, ugh, I don't get to enjoy anything. I'm like, what do you think your wife does when she's at home with the kids 24/7, doing chores 24/7, on the clock, like never gets a break from being mom, but you work and then you want to get a break from being dad and you want her to facilitate a lifestyle where you just get whatever you want and you don't have to deal with conflict. We talked about this before. It's like instead of having actual emotional regulation, they expect their environment to be regulated by their wife.
Right.
Don't annoy me. Don't bother me. Get all this done. Get Christmas ready. Order all the presents. That's your job. And it's just like, your wife has no joy. Your wife has nothing outside of mother. Like, and yet you're the one who needs a break. You're the one who doesn't get to have fun. And to take 5, like, I can't get over the fact that he was altering the family budget. It's bad enough if he was just going himself. Right. But then because I have to pay for my friend. I have to pay because, I want to look good and maybe they can't afford it. It's like, you can't afford it.
You literally can't afford it. Yeah.
Yeah. This is all for perception and to get that attaboy. And you would rather like look good to your buddy's girlfriend than to take care of your kids and your wife.
Because their praise matters more than your kid's happiness and your wife's happiness.
Yeah. And your wife's happiness. And make her suffer and like she stretched so thin with this little budget so you can go on your trip. And then you stretch her even thinner by not being present, only giving her $100. Like you are witnessing your wife suffer. Like I could not watch my family like tightening our budget and watching them like be stressed. And thinking in my head, like, well, but I'm going to go on my big Qatar trip and pay thousands of dollars for my friends to go. Like the selfishness, I can't even imagine. And the crazy thing is she literally tells him, I am not doing this. If you leave me $100,
Hmm.
I am not doing Christmas. I'll tell you right now because I can't. It's not even that it's not even I'm not doing it. It's like I literally can't. Like that covers food.
Hmm. I feel like there's a it's one of the reasons why I think it becomes to be I think it should continue to be more normalized about people choosing not to have children, right? Because no, but it
Yeah.
sounds like I think there is a pressure not just on women. It's on men, to men to be. You
Yeah.
have to have someone to carry on your legacy, and a
The
toxic the
bloodline.
bloodline must go on, right? This whole idea. So it's not, but it's not the pressure is not on men to be fathers. It's to
Yes.
have children.
To have the title of dad.
Hmm. To have the title,
Yeah.
right? But it's then they realize, oh wait, but I don't get to keep doing all my single guy things. And that's not fair. And the thing is, it's not fair in the
Right.
sense that life is not fair in that regard. Yeah, when you have a family, you no longer get to center yourself. That's not fair, right? In the sense that you have to want that family you have to be able to get enjoyment and fulfillment out of that aspect of your life.
Which is why people should have children because they
Right.
want them.
Because
And
they want them,
well, it's
right?
like they don't want them to change their life at all.
Hmm.
That's crazy. How do
Hmm.
you want to bring another human being into this world and have your life not impacted?
Like I can't even like I don't even like gifts. Like I'm like I don't want gifts most of the time. Like I don't
Yeah,
really want anything because I don't really get the anymore. Like when I was younger, of course I loved
sure.
getting because but like I would much rather spend $100, for instance, on seeing my kids light up, even if they hate the
Right.
gift,
Which sometimes they do.
which it does happen. You're like,
Yeah.
oh, oh man,
Oops.
I spent so much time just getting this.
I'm
Like
so
there's one.
glad you played with that for 2 minutes.
I spent 2 hours driving to buy something that's discontinued on Facebook Marketplace. Like I'd buy
Uh-huh.
it on Facebook Marketplace because my daughter asked for it and it's no longer sold. And so I spent 2 hours, and then I bet she's gonna hate it. But on the off chance she does like it. Anyways, but the idea though, that was still I'd much rather try
Yeah.
and do that for that enjoyment because I like being a father. I like
Yeah.
having children. I like their enjoyment matters more. And you deserve happiness? Of course you do. Like everyone deserves happiness, but you don't get to sacrifice your kids' happiness just to make yourself happy, just so you can go to the football game, right? You do have to give up certain things in order to be a good parent. That's just reality.
And what a shitty thing to do to his wife, like to put
Yeah.
her in the position then
Hmm.
of like, okay, well, I can either literally not do Christmas for our
Hmm.
children, or I can try and somehow figure out how to feed us
Right.
and do Christmas with a budget that does not facilitate that, like stressing over what to get, how to get it, how to budget. Like, do I need to make things? Like, I mean, I
Hmm.
feel like with that budget, you are thinking, like, what can I craft, you know?
Hmm.
And like, just no concern about, like, you can tell, like, he believes I should
Hmm.
have my mental, like, I should not carry any of the mental load of being the parent.
Hmm.
That's all you. You stress over it, you worry about it. I do what I want. And like it's just insane to me because again, to your point, like you did not want kids. You wanted the
Hmm.
title of dad.
Hmm.
These men don't enjoy any aspects of fatherhood. Like
Hmm.
they don't want the kids to make any noise.
Hmm.
They don't want to play with the kids. They don't want to go to their activities or drive them anywhere.
It's the you brought up narcissism as well, and it's the idea of because I think a lot of times when people say, "Oh, I deserve this. I never get to have fun," they don't. Like you kind of touched on this, where what is she getting?
Yeah, right.
Like what is she other than the normal fulfillment we talked about if she actually wanted to be a parent? But like because like so I never go on like a personal trip anywhere. I rarely do
Yeah.
anything that's like for fun, right? Like for me, but I do travel with my job.
Yeah.
I do get to, I'm spending the day alone in my, great. I'm still grading. I'm still working.
Yeah.
Still a very stressful job at times, but it's a different I don't think people like I still am getting time away. Like I'm
Yes.
still getting a break from what the monotony of life is, whatever. And so I don't necessarily, do I deserve maybe a trip sometime? Sure. And I'll get that
Yes,
eventually,
you
right?
do,
I
Cheska.
do deserve that. But it's like I don't do those things. And I'm never like, I never get anything, right? Like there'll be guys who are like, well, my job is very stressful and I never have any, but you also like I've worked at really shitty places. I
Yeah.
do get a lunchtime with friends where I'm laughing. I do have like times where I get to go on if I'm on a work trip that's really like I used to take students on a trip for a national tournament where we gone for a week,
Hmm.
and it's so exhausting, right? Because you're on 24/7, you're watching, you're worried that one of them's going to do something really stupid and get you
Yeah.
arrested or
Yeah.
fired. And there's a lot that goes into it, and financing and budgeting, etc. But I also had a really good time, and
Yeah.
so I think a lot of people will only focus on the fact that the negative part of it, and we will are terrified to admit that they also enjoyed themselves, because then or to their partner even, like,
Yeah.
because then they would say like, oh well, they weren't really working then, and so it gives the justification for them not being able to do kind of fun frivolous things. Anywho, I don't know what the
No,
point I'm trying to make it is.
no, I totally hear you. I think it's also the lack of acknowledgement of what
Mhm.
happens to someone who does not have an identity outside of parenthood.
Right,
Like
right.
a mother becomes just mother.
Hmm.
And everything they do relates to that. Everything they think about, their mind
Hmm.
is always full of not only their own thoughts, but thinking about their kids and what they have to get done that day. Their
Hmm.
identity is that, is be a mother, and they often lose their sense of self.
Hmm.
Versus these dads are literally
Right.
what they were before with the
Hmm.
addition of the dad identity.
Hmm.
They are fully a person. They have their own wants, desires,
Hmm.
hobbies, usually a career. They
Hmm.
can go somewhere where they have the separate identity of I am a banker or I am
Hmm.
whatever. Or in your case, I'm a professor, or
Hmm.
I'm a social media influencer. You know,
Yeah.
but they have these other parts of themselves where they're not specifically solely parent.
And that's exactly the point where they don't, and they can't acknowledge that that is a huge privilege to
Yeah.
have a separate identity other than, especially when the kids are young.
Oh my God. When I started working again, it literally changed. My mental health
Hmm.
increased so much.
Hmm.
When I like she started school because I had or like preschool, but
Hmm.
I had myself again. I had my own things
Hmm.
that were mine specifically. I could work towards a goal.
Hmm.
My brain was not just solely on this thing. And when you have both sides, like when you have coming home, like working and then your life at home, like
Hmm.
it makes you appreciate the home more, or it should.
Hmm.
It should. And like
Right.
this idea that, I work all day and then I come home to your family who
Hmm.
loves you, to your
Hmm.
wife or your partner, to your children, like they almost act as if that's the stressful part.
Hmm.
I shouldn't be bothered by your own choices, by the
Hmm.
human beings you brought into this world. Because the other side of this that they don't say is, I shouldn't be bothered, so my wife always should.
Hmm.
That's the thing is if you are not answering questions, if you are not being bothered, your wife is answering every question. Your wife is being bothered. Your wife is scheduling all the appointments. Your wife is making sure they don't bother you.
Hmm.
And that's not okay. You're putting all of the pressure on her. And again, this is a 24/7 job. If you're off the
Right.
clock and you're demanding that of her, she's never off the clock.
Hmm.
And that's not fair. And to not acknowledge the stress that puts her under, and then to put her under additional stress because you want to show off.
Hmm.
Like, meanwhile, what you're saying to her is, oh, yeah, I'll save thousands of dollars to take my friend's girlfriend on a trip, but I won't even give you the money you need to buy food and presents for our
Hmm.
children. What does that say to her about what value she has in your life?
Right.
Not much. I know it says a lot, but it says he doesn't value you very much.
Right. I think with that $100, she should get an hour or two with a divorce attorney,
Yes.
and figure out a way out of this relationship,
Yeah.
because I don't know. I think that's always my solution at the end of these is like divorce.
Divorce.
But a lot of these are pretty rough though, so I mean, I think it's justifiable.
I think it's important to acknowledge that these types of situations and then these power dynamics are not okay. I
Right.
think it's important to take account of if a man cares more about his hobbies or the way he presents or the way he's seen rather than the
Hmm.
reality of the life he chose.
Hmm.
That's a problem and that's not fair. And that's
Hmm.
not being a good father. Like, it's not enough to provide financially. That is an aspect of
Hmm.
fatherhood, which he agreed to. By the
Hmm.
way, this is he and her have agreed to this. That was the setup. It's not like he's being forced to have this job. He's being forced to provide. Like, this was agreed upon at some point, clearly, because that's what they're doing.
Hmm.
To then act like he's being punished or put out is insane to me.
Yeah.
I think men get away with that a lot. It's interesting because I just had do you know she's a page turner, the
Mm-mm.
content creator? She's
Mm-mm.
really great. I just had her on
I
the
might if I saw. Yeah, I'm really bad with
Utah.
names.
She does a lot of content on equity within the home.
Mm.
She's really great. Check her out. She's a page turner. I just had her on the F the Good podcast, but um, she was talking about like, men will do that. They'll be like, oh, I have this really high stress job, or I have this really, intense job or scary job or whatever. And it's like, you did choose
Hmm.
that career path.
Hmm.
And maybe you have to work, but there are choices we make to pursue certain types of careers. So
Hmm.
if you have put yourself in the position of doing a high stress job, then absolutely we can hold space for how stressful that is, but you
Hmm.
can't punish your wife for that. There's a
Right.
difference.
And that's the key. That's
It's the same thing as like parents who get stressed. It's like I get really stressed about being a parent. I don't
hmm.
then punish my child. I
Hmm.
don't think it's my child's fault. Like she just
Right.
she's a top, 4. So she does stuff that I'm like, that's sex that you just did that.
Hmm.
But I never am like, you're the problem. Or when I'm stressed or not sleeping, I'm never like, it's your fault.
Right.
She's a child, right? And I chose to bring her into this world. And the same thing can be said for these men. It's like, you chose your job. You chose to be a parent
Hmm.
knowing the stress that you're under and what it would take, seemingly, except he thinks $100, so maybe he doesn't
Right.
quite grasp what it takes to provide, right? To then blame your partner and treat her like shit and not be there for your children and want to escape your own family and your own life
Hmm.
is not fair. That's not fair to do to somebody. If you don't like what's going on in your life, then you need to make a change, but it's not at the expense of your family.
And if she said to him, I would like $4,000, $5,000 for a girls' trip,
Never would
there
that
is no
happen.
world where I see him being like, oh, yeah, you deserve it.
Right. Right.
Hmm.
I mean, I just can't imagine, like, I can't imagine how I would feel and how little I would think my partner cared for me if they're
Hmm.
like, you can have $100 for groceries, Christmas, and decorations,
Hmm.
but I'm gonna give thousands to some random woman and my friend because they really deserve it.
In general, the idea of giving your partner an allowance, always, and there's a big difference between
Budget?
creating a budget as a
Yeah.
family together versus saying you are allowed this much money. Part of it's a framing, part of it's just how you say things, but it is having a partnership, right? Where
Yeah.
where you are like, all right, we're looking at this, we can afford to spend this much money on this, as
Yeah.
opposed to I am bestowing upon you this
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 gift.
gift that of my money
Yes.
for you to spend on whatever trinkets that you would like for this, but it's just it's such a weird, because it is the mindset that goes into having that it spreads out to the entire relationship,
Yeah.
right? It's not just that one thing, right? It's all about having holding power over the
Yes.
person that you are with, and it allows you to make threats about other things. This is where you see relation, not to get too serious, but like relationship abuse in the bedroom, right?
Sure.
Where they're like, well, I provide for you. You should be, this is all you have to do, this sort of
Yeah.
thing, because I'm the one providing you money. You're providing me this type of pleasure, right?
Yeah.
You're providing me childcare. You're providing me, and the list of what they're providing him will go on and on and
Right,
on and
right.
on, versus that. Yeah, men get to do, traditionally men get to say, one, financial, and two, this really obscure idea of protection, right? This idea, well, I
From
protect
what? Like,
from,
don't worry about it.
if it happens, you're gonna be happy. I'm here. But also it'll be guys that will say that, were ones that work, oftentimes will work really long hours, which
Yeah.
that's good, good on them for that. Who's protecting the home
Yeah.
during the 12 hours a day when you're gone? right? Or when you're on this trip to Qatar for the football game.
Yeah.
Who's somebody else is protect like you're offering protection for the 3 hours at where you're at home every day? Is
I
that
protected you so much you don't even know it. You don't even
yeah,
know how
right?
many assailants I took out.
It's so many. They saw me walk in, they're like, oh, not
Not today.
today. Oh man. Look at I wanted to assail that house.
I feel like that guy goes to Qatar for football. He's
Hmm.
a
That's
boss
the kind of
man.
guy I don't want to. Oh, he already spent all their money on a football game.
Oh, they have
No
nothing left.
point.
I
Nothing
mean,
point.
it is financial abuse, though. I think
Hmm.
if he's saying this is how much I'm going to give you, and she's saying I cannot do it, I
Hmm.
can't provide for our family in that way, and he's like, well, sex is sex.
Yeah.
You're a bad wife and a bad mother if you can't.
You should feel bad about this.
Yeah,
I'm providing you with this. I'm still, because in the end, I'm still giving you a hundred
a
dollars of
$100
my
gift.
money
Yeah,
out of nowhere. You didn't like I didn't. I don't have to give this to
I
you.
literally do not have to feed our
Yeah,
children. I
yeah.
choose to.
Figure it out, right? That's what you do,
It's
right?
got to be a power trip. Once he
Hmm.
knew she couldn't do it for that much money, I feel like it's got to be.
Yeah.
It's so malicious to be like,
Hmm.
I'm going on this trip and I'm giving you $100. Like that is so horrible
Hmm.
and so clearly inappropriate that I feel like it's got to be a message to her.
It's a way to assuage your own guilt about, spending the money. It's like, all right, well, I shouldn't feel bad alone about, or I shouldn't feel bad at all. So
Yeah,
I need to somehow create a scenario where you are the villain who should feel bad because you're going to see our kids crying, and
yeah,
I'm going to say to them, I left your mom money.
yeah. Because they wouldn't know, they don't have a concept of it probably.
Mm-mm,
He doesn't,
mm-mm.
so why should his
Right.
children?
Why would his
Yeah,
children?
I mean, I think this has got to be him wanting her to feel bad. Again, I think it's ringing of narcissism to me. And remember, friends, someone can have narcissistic traits and not be a full-blown diagnosed
Right.
narcissist.
Right.
And anybody who is abusive has narcissistic
Hmm.
traits. And I would say this man is definitely showing narcissistic traits at the very least with the ways that he is not showing empathy and is caring
Hmm.
very much about appearance. And I feel very bad for her. And just knowing how many men are big family men and like,
Hmm.
he's the nicest guy. He took me and my girlfriend out on this trip. And then in
Hmm.
private, he's treating his wife this way.
Right.
And he's setting up her for failure with her own children.
Hmm.
Like I am setting up a situation where your kids are going to think it's your fault that they
Hmm.
don't have presents,
Hmm.
that they don't have food, that it's your fault. I did what I could. Like that
Hmm.
is so cruel. And this is exactly the thing that I fear for when I hear women in situations where they don't have control over any of the finances.
Hmm.
This is what I'm afraid of.
An example too of how it's not always a choice to end up in this situation
Hmm.
too. So with my wife and I, when we moved to Los Angeles, she got pregnant
Hmm.
soon after. It was very very quick, and so she was applying for jobs, pregnant. She was honest, and shockingly was not getting these positions there. Versus
I'm
it
going to
was
be gone in a couple months.
yeah, it was
Yeah.
absolutely a selling point I already had the job, but when I was applying for jobs,
Uh-huh.
they'd ask questions like, what are your personal goals for the
Yeah.
future?" And I'd bring up that I want to have a stable job so I can provide for my family when
Like
the blah blah
you're
blah. And
signed.
yes, yeah, and it is
Yeah.
it's fascinating, not fascinating, it's sad, but it is not a accident, right? It's a structural part of a misogynist culture
Yeah.
that lays it in where it's not just men are want to be providers and they're going to be financial and women don't like doing this sort of things. We're forced into these roles
Yeah.
because you literally I'm getting a better job because they want to help me. It's the whole like subconscious. It's not always like above the surface,
Sure.
but like, oh well, this guy's going to be a father, we should give him stability. He
Right.
deserves
He
this.
needs this.
He needs this.
And the other thing is it showcases how much like as a society we're misogynistic because the assumption is now if when someone's pregnant, obviously they know you're going to be out of work for a
Right.
hot minute.
Right.
I could see, but even down the line, even if like the kids are in school, like and
Hmm.
there's a dad and a mom, the assumption is, oh, if you're a mom, you're going to be doing the sick
Hmm.
days, you're going to be doing
Hmm.
pickups. Like men aren't treated with that same
No.
idea. Like when they're like, "Oh, I'm a dad," they're like, oh, "Okay, well, that makes no difference
Hmm.
probably." And when women say they're moms, they're like, "Oh, well, you're going to be missing a lot of work because you're going
Hmm.
to be the one that's doing it." And the fact that that is just the assumption without any question, that's never asked. They never
Hmm.
ask. I don't know if they can legally ask that, but like,
I've heard women talk about being asked when they're applying for jobs about like, oh, and how do you who's going to be taking care of your kids during like asked about their childcare. It's
ew.
definitely like we're more like conversationally.
Yeah.
I never once would
Right.
be asked like, oh, who's going to be watching your kids
Right.
while you're traveling for the, I directed a speech and debate program. While you're traveling, who's going to be watching your kids? Right? That never ever would come up from a superior in the workplace because the assumption in a misogynistic patriarchal
Yeah.
society is that oh it's going to be his wife that he wouldn't even if I wouldn't be worried about that anyways because she's going to take care of it,
Right. Right.
right? Hmm.
And there's so much that goes unsaid or like covertly is discussed.
Hmm.
And it's really sad.
I had a coworker before, I think I mentioned this once before, where I mentioned to them that how exhausted I was. Uh,
Yes.
and yeah, and they were like, "Oh, my wife just takes care of all the." Oh, I was like, how'd you sleep during?" And like, "Oh, I can't function if I don't get a full night's sleep, so my wife just took care of all the overnight stuff." I was like, and I remember just it blew. I was like, "How? What?
Yeah. I sorry,
Like
what?
what? Why would you?" Like, yeah, I also can't. Humans can't function without sleep, but it's like, and
She's a
it's also
woman. She's got the brain where she doesn't need to sleep.
yeah, they're built different. Yeah, it's also that it's not like I'm a brain surgeon where if I'm a little extra tired the next day that
Right.
someone's gonna die, right? I'm gonna be a little bit less energetic teaching public
Yeah.
speaking. Like that's
Terrifying.
but that's the thing. It's also you'll hear it from guys that are in jobs like mine,
Right.
right? Where it's like there's yeah, you won't be as great maybe as you would on a different day. But that's not an excuse not to like just put a 100% of it onto your spouse. And also, look, if we talk about structural things, there was no built-in, and I'm in Los Angeles in a with a good union. There was no built-in paternity leave into my contract at all. We found a way, like they gave me ways that I could use like my sick days and
Yeah.
things to take like a week off for it, but I was also non-tenured at the time, so I didn't want to like risk doing it. So I went in like right away, exhausted, and drove in. But there is maternity leave built into our contract once again because they want these structural things pushing toward and people guys would see that and see society hates men. It's like no,
They love them. They think they're not
the
taking care of their kids.
the assumption is that you don't. It's almost like a
Have
gift
to.
to men. Yeah. Why would you have to be home?
You get the
You didn't give
rest.
birth. Yeah.
You get rest. So when I worked at the production company that I worked at,
Hmm.
they had literally 2 weeks for maternity,
Hmm.
which for the
Wow.
size of it was
Yeah.
great. Well, how they got away with it was they had a smaller amount of full-time people and endless hundreds of freelancers.
Hmm.
And they basically considered themselves like a mom and pop shop because
Hmm.
the full-time employees was less. And I'm
Hmm.
like, you have hundreds of people that work for you.
Yeah.
Anyways, so we were like, did this whole meeting and we're like, 2 weeks is not enough because you're not even healed
No.
like
No.
by 2 weeks. And
Hmm.
they're like, okay, let's talk about this. And so the two guys, like who HR person and then like the boss of the entire company, um, like listened to us. And, we had several meetings with all of the women. And
Hmm.
at the end of it, they're like, thank you so much. Like literally, this is like meeting 4. Thank you
Hmm.
so much for coming in and talking about that. But we're gonna go ahead and keep it at 2 weeks. And then all of the women were like, yeah. I remember specifically one woman being like, yeah, well, when I had my baby, they let me bring the baby into the office. So they're very supportive. And everyone's like, thank you. And I'm sitting there like, thank you for what? You just
What is
wasted.
happening? You're looking around like, am I?
I'm in hell. Um, Literally, they did nothing other than waste our time to
Mhm.
look like they cared when they were never going to change it.
But Regan,
And
they talked about it.
they talked about it
They
and they
talked about
made
it.
sad face.
Yeah, they felt bad about it,
They
but
felt really bad when they didn't change their
uh,
minds.
not bad enough to make changes.
No, not bad enough
Just to
to
be
spend
clear.
money on their staff.
Mhm.
But it was just so bizarre. And everyone's like, "Oh, they tried." I'm like, "No, they
Isn't it
didn't."
nice to work at a supportive workplace?
Yes, they let me drag my baby while I'm still wearing a
Mhm.
diaper. People were like nursing in like closets, and you're just like, "Oh my God."
And that's also like best case scenario, right? You have like if you don't have complications,
Yeah,
if the baby is healthy, if depending on if you how severe of a tear you have,
yeah.
or if you had a cesarean section, like all of that goes into like complicates it so much further. But there was a street interview where they're asking guys how long after birth can you before you can have sex again.
Hmm.
And most of the guys had no fucking clue that there was even like a time you were supposed to wait. And they were not like all like young guys too. They were like, what do you mean? Like, like like you can do it right after,
That
right? Like,
also disgusting. What is it? 10 weeks? What is the
I think
5 weeks?
I think it's like 5 or 6 weeks, yeah. But it's also it's 5 or 6 weeks, and then you have a checkup, and the doctor can make sure
Yeah, you're
everything
all
is.
right. But like that men are counting down like,
You're like,
"Oh,
oh,
it's
yeah,
happening." It's like,
this hardship for me as the man
do you
to
care
have
about
to. Mhm.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Yeah.
That actually makes me want to
No, it's
rage
absolutely, yeah.
out. Like they're
Hmm.
just like, "Okay,
Yeah.
this is not about you. You are an object. I don't care
Yeah.
how you're feeling it. At that many weeks, we're doing
Hmm.
it because
Hmm.
I want to, and I've waited. I've had to
Hmm.
suffer."
Oh, I guarantee you there are men too. And this is, I don't have any specific examples though that would be find out that, the wife wasn't healed enough after 5 or 6 weeks and they're just furious
Oh,
about it.
100%.
Right.
Oh,
Ah,
God, this was so hard on me.
do you understand what it's like for me after this birth? I'm the one truly suffering because I'm incapable of
Doing it
pleasuring
else.
myself. Right?
I don't even know what that
I don't
means. I'm
even
like,
know. I've never done that.
I guarantee you do, sir. I guarantee it. But it's just this idea, all of this is like not seeing your partner at all, not seeing them
Hmm.
as a person, not
Hmm.
seeing their wants, needs, desires, not seeing, you know, where they're not
Right.
feeling fulfilled. It's like so heavily focused on the husband and his needs, and the woman is just there to facilitate that.
And that's also just the physical readiness
Sure, sure,
after,
sure.
like, but that's the point though. It's like it's not even like, okay, when are you medically cleared to with it without even
Yeah.
asking, are you ready? Like, are you feeling
Mentally.
mentally like how are you? Because after that, that first month when you're, like just you're exhausted, you're dirty, right? 'Cause you're not even like you're being covered in pee and vomit and
Even our original "Am I the asshole?", which he's the asshole, she's not an
Mhm.
asshole.
Yes, yeah.
But like all of this is like they are just not accounting for their wives, like
Hmm.
what she wants, how she feels. Like it's just not even on their radar at
Hmm.
all. And like their wife it feels like not a person to them. Like who
Hmm.
she is solely like, you provide for me, you do what I want,
Hmm.
you make me feel better. You make sure I get to do everything that I want and need and
Hmm.
desire, and whether that's with your body or your time. And I don't care if you say you don't want to or can't do it, not a big enough budget. You're going to because I
Hmm.
said so, because I'm the man. And that is such a disgusting way to look at a marriage. And
Hmm.
that is not a partnership. And that is not
Hmm.
love. That is just being a dictator. And then to your point, wanting to be a baby. So wanting to be a boss baby.
Right. Like my mommy always made it work with nothing, right?
Yeah.
Like why
She
can't
didn't
you do what
tell
my mommy
you.
didn't know? You didn't see it. Yeah. Well, and that goes back down to
Ugh.
why it's so important to model the behavior
Yeah.
for your children at home. It's not just enough to tell them to do certain things, to say certain things. They're going to learn by what they're seeing, right? Are you an active member of your
Right.
household? That's what he probably saw in his own house
Yeah.
growing up. And so you're going to model that and you can change, you can learn, you should
Right.
change and learn. But a lot of times that's exactly what they enter this relationship thinking, well, I want exactly what I saw. And she was happy because I didn't see her crying,
Much.
even though
Except a couple
much like
times.
except for always. But
The
anyways, but
holidays.
the holidays, that was
She had
rough.
wine.
Yeah. But it's the point is that they didn't clock that as the only reason why it couldn't any be that they were unhappy or that they were being basically in a unfulfilling relationship. No, they want that exact thing.
And, women weren't allowed to be honest. And also, like,
Hmm.
these boys didn't investigate.
Right.
Like, their mommies, they were never thinking of, like, even as they get older, the relationship doesn't change. Like, as I have gotten older, like, I
Hmm.
care more about my mom's needs. I care if
Hmm.
she's happy. I care, what's going on in her
Hmm.
life and how I can help her
Right.
and how I can make her life easier, because at some point that should switch. There's a shift.
Hmm.
As you want to help your parents. As a child, no, you should not be worried about
Right.
the mental stability. Like, you shouldn't be carrying the mental load or the emotional load for your parents. That's not
Right.
healthy. But as you
Right.
get older, you should. And it's like these men never switch out of that. They never see, like, oh, maybe my mom needed help. Maybe my mom
Hmm.
wasn't happy. Maybe I should check on her. They stay in that infantilized opinion of their mom, and they're still babied most of the time. And
Hmm.
then they then want the same treatment from their wife.
Hmm.
And it's not right. And I'm glad we are calling it out, and I'm glad we're all more honest. Like, I feel
Right.
like women are being a lot more open and honest, and are given space to do so. I don't think they were not saying because they just didn't want to tell anyone.
Right.
There was consequence for telling
Right.
how they were feeling, and for venting or showing any signs of frustration. There was serious consequence in a lot of cases. So I think now women just have more space to be honest, and I'm happy to see it, because this type of shit is outdated and was never okay. And I'm hoping we're moving towards partnerships versus dictatorships
Yeah.
in relationships.
Working on it, right? All this stuff online right now. But the thing is, there's
Yeah.
a lot of young guys now. They're seeing all these horrific people online that we're responding to, and they're also going down that track. And it's like it's
Well, they
such
won't
a
be with women though. That's the
no,
thing.
no,
It always kills me, and then we'll have to close because we've been talking for a while. But
yeah,
it always kills me, because I'm always like, those men hate men and think the least of men. Like,
hmm,
those dating coaches, like, they weaponize men's
hmm,
frustrations, they weaponize men's pain, to
yeah,
profit off of it.
100%.
And they want you to stay angry. They want you to stay upset. Like, they have no
Hmm.
intentions of you getting better, because then they do not profit off of you.
Right.
And it's like, they're the ones that think so little of you. Like, people who question your behavior and critique you are looking for you to grow and think there's room for you to grow and want
Hmm.
you to have a better life. Mainly, like, want everybody else not to suffer from you, but
Right.
in growth there is the betterment of your own self, not just how you affect others.
Hmm.
And those, like, everybody else is the ones that want the best for you. Like, if you better yourself, like, you can find a partner, but instead you double down for people who want you to suffer to make money off
Right.
you.
Right.
Not the best choice. Anywho, he's a asshole, she is not.
Yeah, she's not an asshole, and I hope that she leaves him.
Divorce.
Yes.
You're always I feel like every
Yep.
time, like, I know this isn't possible for all the cases, but you should leave him if you can.
You should probably
Take that $100 and get a train
Mhm.
ticket.
Something just.
Jesus.
Hey Reagan, do we have anything fun coming up next month for people?
We do. On January 18th, we are doing our live show in LA. We're going to be selling tickets shortly. We're going to have like a VIP thing before, kind of Q&A,
do some
and
sort
then the
of fun thing.
show. Yeah,
Mhm.
so you can either do the full thing or just come for the live show. We're super excited. We've got our space. We're going to be doing tickets eventually. But
Yes.
we would love to see you there.
Yes, indeed.
Is that
I'm excited.
As am I. We will keep you posted as we have more details, but I think that's all for now.
I think we're good to go. I have no idea. I'm so
Jessica's
bad.
like, I'm done.
I don't know. I'm so tired.
Oh my God. Do you need to go to Qatar?
Yeah, why don't I ever get anything out of this podcast?
Oh my God. I'll just take care of this podcast, our baby. It's fine. Don't worry about me. I'll just go cry and drink wine. All right, friends. I'll see you next week.
Love you.
Love you. Mommy
Bye.
loves you more. Bye.
I got some good advice for you.